Hi, welcome back to Intuitive AF Squared. I'm your host, Renee, and today I am talking with Elizabeth Day-Suri, correct? That's your hyphenated last name?
Yes.
And she's the founder of Lucky Day Interiors, and she's also you came to see me a couple of years ago for Reiki,
Yeah.
and then we hadn't talked for a while, right?
Yeah. It'd been almost 2 years since we had spoken.
It'd been 2 years, and then you kind of reached out to me out of nowhere and
Hmm.
you wanted to get Reiki certified.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you doing today?
I'm great today.
Good. How did
Rainy
you
day and all.
I know. How have you been dealing with all the yucky, hot, sticky, crazy weather?
I actually had to drive through most of it yesterday. We came back from the beach and it was just a deluge. Night driving's always my worst, but it was so intense. It was, somebody guided me through because honestly, it it was not a drive I enjoyed any moment of.
No,
But
I bet
yeah,
not. Oh my gosh.
we
Were
got
you
home
here?
safely and that's all
So wait, did
I
you
can be
come
thankful
back
for.
did you come back yesterday way before, or did you come back the day before during the evening when we got that crazy, I swear they even said that we might have had a tornado or something.
Yeah, so that night I was home. We went to the beach the following day. So we did like a 12-hour stretch at the beach yesterday because my family was downstate. And on the ride back there was a lot of rain. Yeah. So
Oh my
luckily I
gosh.
wasn't driving through the day before's mess, but you could see remnants around it all over town. It's insane.
Well, it was crazy because I didn't even think about it until this morning, and I thought to myself, I'm like, "Oh my god, I wonder if she got hit by the power outages and stuff in town,"
No, luckily
because
we were set. We were at a 4th of July party next door. Our neighbors have
Mhm.
been throwing the same 4th of July party for like over 50 years. It was her grandparents' 4th of July party that she adopted. So they were throwing it next door, and everybody just had to kind of batten down the hatches. And I don't know if you were planning on going to the fireworks in town, but they canceled them last minute, and everybody was trying to get home before the rain hit. And then somebody in the town decided to just put the fireworks off. So the fireworks
Yeah.
were like going off. Everybody was trying to like
So,
cover the
yeah,
food. It
yeah, I
was
know, it was crazy. So Liz and I we live in the same town, and I was actually home. I had been down in Middletown, New Jersey, at my sister-in-law. So we got back at around like 7 something, and my daughter wanted to go out. And so she's like, "Oh, can you drive me?" And I'm looking outside. I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So we stopped to get gas off at 208, and I'm watching the storm start. I like literally was sitting there. There was no rain, and I'm like watching it come in, like just kind of float in. And my daughter's like, "You're being very dramatic right now." And I'm from the Midwest. So I was like, "I don't know." I'm like, I kind of
your
can,
spidey
kind of
senses were
can
going off.
see when the
Yeah.
sky starts turning green and I'm watching garbage like fly across the street. So we start heading towards, wherever I'm taking her in Ridgewood. And she goes, "Oh my God." I said, "Yeah, just look at the trees. That's when you know when it's bad because they're like all over the place." So I
Yeah.
took
They
her
were
and
flying sideways. It was crazy.
it was crazy. And then yeah, my
Yeah.
husband called me and said that I think they were putting off the fireworks because they couldn't like pack them
Yes.
up and dispose of them properly. So they just started like shooting them off and everybody was all confused.
Yeah. It was
So,
nice to still see some fireworks, but the funny thing is the sky was getting dark because of the storm, so you could still see them beautifully.
could you? I did not see them. Well, I'm
Yeah,
glad
I'm
you
very close to vets, so I got to see it through the this is why they have the 4th of July party next door is because they have a beautiful view of the
well,
fireworks
that
every year,
is
so
great. Well, I'm glad you did not get affected because I mean, I know a lot of people either
yeah.
don't have power or there's lines and trees like down all over the place. It was
I
kind of
had a funny
wild.
feeling that we were going to lose power, and luckily
Mhm.
we did not.
Thank
Yeah.
thank goodness. So,
Yeah.
I first met you a couple of years ago, and
Yes.
you've had a very busy few years. So, you
Yeah.
are a mother of 3, right?
I have 3 children, yeah, so the first time I came to see you, I it was you get these downloads sometimes, and I had a very intuitive ping to go see you. I found you online, and I'm not sure how I stumbled upon your center, but I mean, the first time I came, I was like, this is just what needs to happen. And I
Yeah.
booked it at like 11 o'clock at night. I was nearly asleep, and I came in for the session with you, and it was just my biggest takeaway from my session with you the first time. and I'm sure a lot of your clients can attest to this. You had a special way of speaking to me in a way that I needed to hear. I needed to hear that I was okay where I was in my place in life, that I can move forward at the pace that I need to and be comfortable with it. And you were the voice of reason that told me to just slow down and take it easy.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear
Yeah.
that. Time is, like,
It
such a
was
construct, and it's a major, like, energy blocker because everybody's just, like, needs to figure it feels like they need to figure it all out at one
yeah.
time, and it's like, sometimes you're just meant to just, like, "Alright, let me, like, give myself a little bit of a break and a little bit of rest." Because at that time when I saw you, you were going through a separation, right?
Yes. Yes.
And you were
Yeah, I
still you've been going
still
through
am
it.
going
Yeah,
through the separation.
still going. It's close. You're getting
Yeah.
close, and
It's we're at the tail end.
it's
We've come a long, long way through the past, it's been almost when I saw you, was I already moved out? I was moved out.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so
you
I was
were because I
probably a year
remember
into it.
yeah, because I remember I think you were maybe even already a couple of years into it because if we're in
Mhm.
26, you
Yeah.
were a couple of years into it, and because I remember in that session you were talking about how you guys were very amicable.
Yep.
And you're still able to do
Still
you're
are to
still
this day.
doing dinners and doing all those things together with the kids, which
Mhm.
I think is fabulous because I personally don't think the energy of divorce is a horrible thing. I just think it's the energy of how you choose to go about it. And so when people
Absolutely.
right? Like, so if you can try to take the emotions out of it, I mean, you're gonna feel all that stuff, but if you can take the emotions out of it and focus on, like, keep your
It's
eye
hard.
on the it is really hard.
Yeah, so it was a tough time. So we met 2 years into it, and now we're 2 years later, so it's almost been 4 years that I've been going through this, and it's been a real healing journey. It's been a learning journey. When any door closes, you have another door that opens, and you're able to kind of take the time to reflect on what did and didn't work, what your involvement in that was, where you have room for improvement, where you have, I hate to use the word fault or blame, but in relationship, it's always two-sided.
It's
So,
accountability.
yeah. And there was
Accountability, I like
plenty of
that word.
things that I needed to own and heal on my own, and you
Mhm.
were part of that beginning journey.
Well, I
And more
appreciate
recent
that.
yeah, yeah, it's been a real revolution in my world of trying to figure this all out.
So, that would lead me to my first question. When you look at who you were then and who you are today, what actually feels like the most different?
I trust my intuition. That's definitely a major thing. I think for years throughout my marriage, there were moments when I thought to myself that this doesn't feel aligned, something feels off, this doesn't feel. I tended to play small as a married person. And I think that there's a lot of different things that fed into that. But now on the other side of things, stepping into my own independence and being able to show up for my life more fully, I feel ownership of it. And I also feel free to do the things that I need to do in the time I need to do them.
What do you when you talk about because like, this whole podcast, right, is about connecting to our in- our inner child and intuition and being able to decipher what is ego and fear based versus what is connected to your higher self and what's getting on the path versus getting off the path. And what would you say when you said about showing up like small, like in your marriage? What do you mean by that?
Yeah. I think that there's a choice. Career wise, I've definitely played small. I was always the secondary earner. And I feel like we live in a society where if you are not the person who is making the most money, you are somehow inferior to the partner who's making more money. And we tend to prioritize those careers because they earn more. The truth is, though, I've always been a very entrepreneurial person. And from before marriage to after marriage and through the process of having kids, I've always been energized by this idea of helping others and trying to find ways to use my skill set, my unique skill set to help other people. And luckily, I have skills and I can fall back on those. And the skill sets that I have can really be morphed in different ways. So, specifically, how did I play small? Stepping into retail when my training was high end residential interior design, I don't necessarily think that it set me back fully because it did
Mhm.
open different perspective and I was able
Right.
to help a different type of client, which I
Right.
feel truly connected to now more than ever
Everything, yeah,
because I've
everything serves its
seen
purpose. Yep.
yeah, it has served its purpose. I think just being able to sit with myself and trust my own decision making is something that's developed over the years
I
that
love
I
it, and
did
you've
I
actually
didn't
put
possess.
action
Mhm.
behind it. It's like, I think when you're in
Yeah.
those sorts of situations as a mother and you've got 3 kids, how old are your kids again?
My kids are 10, 12, and 15.
And 12 and 15. But,
Yeah.
it's like when you're a mother and you have to do all the mothering things, I think that mothering is not just like it's one purpose of a few different purposes, I think, as a woman and as a mother. And I think that we get very conflicted in that journey for a long time and we
Absolutely.
put the other things on the back burner, and then you sit and you just ruminate and you think about all these other things that you could be, these ideas and these downloads and these
Yeah.
things that you can be doing. And some people will think about it forever and never actually like put any action steps behind it, but you have, which is awesome. Were you working at all? Like, how long did you work when you had the kids, like as you were raising the kids, or were
Yeah,
you a
I was
stay-at-home
working
mom?
basically through having kids and you know, to echo what you just said about motherhood, I mean, I feel like when women have children as opposed to a family experiencing the birth of a child, there's such an immediate shift in that person's physiology, emotional and physical landscape. Everything changes. So with motherhood, I feel like there's almost a rebirth of the mother as well, because who you were before, do- you usually cannot carry your old self from before motherhood
Yeah,
through
pieces of
motherhood.
it for sure. Yeah.
And I feel like because motherhood is usually associated, you know, socioeconomically and socially through marriage, women find themselves in these pockets of trying to figure out what is my next step? What is my purpose here? Obviously, we are nurturing children in some cases primarily. Sometimes you're the secondary caregiver, but there's an immediate shift that you have to start kind of contending with in your brain and in your body. So I feel like it's so frustrating to listen to the women who were trained, went to school, had careers before, and even the ones that are currently working through it all. It's
Mhm.
so frustrating for me to hear all the things they want to do but just can't do yet. So I do think that finding that voice and finding your way through the confusion is the hardest part.
I always feel that when before we get married and even engaged and all of that, like everybody puts, everybody's got a mask or few on, and we're always putting our like best foot forward in these relationships until we like actually get married, have kids, and like it's the bubble, the love bubble breaks. But did
Yeah.
you before you guys got married, did you I tend to see people not having conversations around like money and like gender roles and all those things before they get married. So then once, it's like, now we're married, now we have to like combine finances and we're having kids and we got to do all these things. Do you feel like you had good conversations around all that stuff before you guys got married and had the kids? Or was it
I
more
feel like
like having the
so
conversation as things were happening?
I think it was a lot of the conversations as things were happening. I think a lot of our relationship was kind of like the thing hit us and we reacted. So we had a very reactive relationship from the beginning. I grew up as Catholic and my ex is a Hindu. So although I was raised Catholic and we got married in a church, mostly to conform to parents' expectations,
Mm,
we
the
had to go through
Matrix.
pre-Cana, right? And pre-Cana is one of those conversations that you have with the priest, and the priest sits you down. You talk about all of these different gender roles. You talk about who's going to be doing the dishes, and you kind of take a quiz where it's like this person has one expectation and the other person may or may not have the same expectation. And this is where you can kind of get together and talk about it. Did you have to do pre-Cana?
So first of all, we didn't get married in the Catholic Church. My
Okay.
ex-husband, my first husband, and I got married in Vegas. And then my current husband, we got married in the backyard by my husband's nephew. So
Nice.
I grew up super uber Catholic. And just to your thing about the pre-Cana, which is hysterical because I haven't heard that in a long time. My parents used to host pre-Cana groups at our house when we
Yeah.
were growing up, which is really it was, like, really funny. So
It's kind of crazy though, because when we were going through pre-Cana, there were intuitive things that were going on inside of me, and I was like, flag, flag." And all of these things, of course, are the biggest things that contributed to, my action steps and moving through
so
divorce.
if we talk about plugging into the matrix or being plugged into the matrix and the rules or whatnot. So your husband's Hindu. And so
Yeah.
what was the whole thing around the Catholic Church, getting married in the Catholic Church, even though he wasn't Catholic? Because I mean, you're not, I think you're a little bit younger than me, but isn't that usually a
Yeah.
no-no? You're not supposed to like get married in the Catholic Church if both people aren't Catholic, or is that not, am I like not remembering
Technically, I
that?
think
But they were open.
I
Your
think
church
it
was open about that.
Yeah, the church was open. The pastor who married us had known our family for quite some time. And it's funny because although we got married in the Catholic Church and we had a Hindu ceremony separately, Gaurav and I got together because we had very similar takes on spirituality. And neither of it really fully aligned with either of our upbringings. So, we always kind of saw eye to eye in how spiritually things work in the world. I think that
Love to
there's,
hear. What would you, if you were to put words to that, like where did you guys sync up? Because I love that. Where did you guys sync up on the spirituality thing?
I think it's so how I've always described my spirituality is that I believe in higher power, but I think that higher power everybody has access to. It it is non-denominational. I think everybody calls it, and when I say everybody, I mean most structured religions call it different things, but it's all the same thing.
Yes.
It's this earth energy or universal energy that is where we originated from.
Yeah.
And that is fundamentally something that we were able to connect on. And I think it was difficult navigating the social structure of each of our families. And we had different moments where things would pop up where we maybe didn't expect it to. Sometimes it was about gender roles. Sometimes it was about, what are our expectations of like enrolling our children into either one of these faiths,
Hmm.
and all these things test you as you go through. So, although we aligned quite nicely, you forget when you're in love that all of these outside influences act against.
So what happened with you guys when you were, as you started raising your children around spirituality and religion, and which route did you guys end up taking? And
So
were you able to really like break out of that, the programming, or do you feel like that definitely creeped in? Like you
I
thought
think
you,
we have. Yeah, I think we have broken out of it because there are, along the way, we have taught our children how to be spiritual people through our own practices, our own
yeah, without having to go to like
non-denominational
church
practices.
or go to do.
Yeah, and faith values are there. I think a lot of churches teach values. So the values have been taught along the way non-denominationally. So the ethos of the Catholic Church is kind of ingrained within me,
Hmm.
but as we raise our children, it's been, just what is the right thing to do? How are
Right.
you a good global citizen? How are
Right.
you a good person? And can you be respectful for people around you? So we were definitely able to break free of it. None of my children are even baptized. And to the
Me,
Catholic Church,
mine
that
neither.
is a big
Mine
deal,
neither.
right? Yeah. Every once in a while, I watch these like super Catholic movies, like like seeing the expectations. I'm like, oh, maybe I should really just get them baptized. But honestly, I think faith is something so personal. And I really encourage each one of my children's independent growth in that area. And when they feel compelled to do one thing or another, I am in full support of it. If my
Me too.
child wanted to learn more about Catholicism or Hinduism or Judaism or Muslim, like wherever they want to navigate in this world and
Yeah.
whatever they connect with, I am in full support of that
Yes, I
because your
am.
spirituality is so personal.
Yes, I am so a huge proponent of that. I did the same exact thing with my kids. I just going through what I went through growing up Catholic. I was like, you know what, right from wrong. We know right from wrong. I can teach my kids right from wrong without bringing them into, into Catholicism and nothing. I really don't. If you come into my office, you'll see like I have a Bible in my office. I've got like the moon stuff, and I've got
Yeah.
probably stuff from Hindu. I have everything in here. And I always just say you got to take the positive from every single culture or religion or spiritual ritual, whatever, and just take the positive. And I believe in all the positive aspects of it. So with my kids too, I was like, you know what? I don't want to raise them in some construct. And then once they are old enough to figure it out and they want to explore all these things, I'm so open to that too. I love that.
Religions are really quite an interesting thing in this world, and I feel like there's so much emotion that's gone into all of the different paths of these. And I feel if you really break it down, the root of each of these religions is all based in this peace and loving concept. It's just really, really hard for an entire community of people to be constantly aligned to that. So, you hear of the Holy Crusades and all the different religious backed fighting that happens in the world. And the truth
Mm,
is, these are not, this is not fighting in the name of God, spirit, whatever each religion wants to call it. It's truly fear that motivates all this fighting.
yeah. Fear, fear,
You know?
and fear and power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Lucky Day Interiors. You tell us about your journey as you are in interior design,
Yeah.
correct? And
So,
you're now launching
yeah,
Lucky.
I'm an
You're
interior
just
designer.
yeah, you're interior design. And do me a favor, explain this to the audience because I think that people get confused about interior design versus interior decorating. And I know you do like
They are two
essentially
very
work.
different
They're
things.
two very different
Yes.
things. I know that you kind of blend it together. But what
Yeah.
is the difference between interior design and interior decorating?
It's a bit of a blurred line in the sand, but I would say the clearest way to describe interior design versus interior decorating is your interior designer has been formally trained and they know materials, methods, construction methods. They understand the building and the guts of what goes into like interior design programs are mostly light architecture programs. There are
Right.
certain aspects of interior design that don't touch what architects do, and interior designers don't need to be. There is licensure opportunity for interior designers, but they
Mm-hmm.
technically don't need licensure because there's no stamp or seal that goes on a drawing that is recognized by any department that an interior design can stamp, such as like, let's say you're an architect and you have stamp and seal privileges with your drawings. That means if you stamp your drawings, you are legally liable for them,
Right. I was
and
just gonna say that.
they can
Mm-hmm.
be approved by a board that
Mm-hmm.
it's basically a legal document. So interior designers, because they don't have that, licensure is possible, but it doesn't mean as much as it does with an architect. So the other side is interior decorating. And there's a lot of crossover between interior design and interior decorating because usually once you're done with the concept and the base of what's happening on the interior guts of the space, you then work on the softer side of
Mm-hmm.
things. So the interior decorators usually work on FF&E. So you're looking at furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So these are things that an interior decorator would technically specify. And in some cases, you will find professionals that are more comfortable with certain elements of decorating than others. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you're going with construction, new construction, a big remodel, you
Mm-hmm.
really want to be with an interior designer
Got it.
versus a decorator.
That makes
And I
sense.
feel like we always get lumped in together as one thing.
I know. That's what I thought because so my husband was in interior design, and he always says when he's in commercial project management now, and he always says interiors. But when we first met, he said interior design. I was like interior design is like, but I was like, oh, I didn't know. Design is all about like more structural stuff.
We know how to build things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's funny because the things that I've gotten involved with around town for volunteerism and things like we just came out of the 4th of July season, so float building is a
Yes.
big
Did you
one
do
that
that?
comes
Did
to
you build
mind.
it? Did you help build the
Yeah.
float?
Yeah, we build floats and I've done it for a few years. I didn't lead the float this year or even the year prior. because timeline, like it takes a lot of time and energy to build those floats. But the cool thing is you know how to draw and instruct people how to do things. So with the plan, you are able to bring the vision together much easier. So, there's been a lot of things that I've done that are less aligned with my interior design training and kind of lean more towards the interior decorating side. But it's funny that float building is one of those small things that actually lean towards the origin
Yeah, which
versus the latter.
which school district are you in?
My kids are in Orchard.
You're in Orchard, okay. Yeah, the floats are
Yeah,
great. That was a great parade.
yeah,
So we talked about motherhood, marriage a little bit, and
yeah,
now, let's talk so we're talking about your business, and I
yeah,
love hearing how people get into these things because
yeah.
again, I think we're born with this predisposition of like what our purpose and all the things that we're going to do are kind of placed they're already there. They're like set out in like the ether or whatever, and then
I truly believe that. Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
then all these experiences that we're having in life are meant to, open us up, and we're trying to, our bodies are plugged in the matrix, but we're trying to unplug our minds and our actions to get to these things that are already
yeah.
set for us, when we come and have this human experience. So how did you start in interior
It's
design? Were you
funny.
like, did you draw a lot when you were a kid and stuff too?
So I think I knew I wanted to do interiors for a very, very long time. I mean, if you really get to I'm setting my things over here. If you get to the root of it, I mean, I remember just playing with Legos and building things as a kid and just being really turned on by it. It was like it got my creativity, moving in a way that pen to paper wouldn't necessarily do. I needed to kind of shift things around. And I guess I had very handy parents, so I always saw kind of like them tinkering and doing things around the house and understanding at a very early age how to build something.
Hmm.
So these things just always kind of got me a little excited. Like I worked at a hardware store when I was in high school. Like most kids go out and get a job and they're like, "No, work at a coffee shop or this." Well, I did those jobs too. But, one of the coolest jobs I did was working at a hardware store, and I was so proud to be, you know
I love that. I love you. You might be the only person I know that worked at a hardware store
Yeah.
when they were
I
a
mean, I knew
teenager.
where
I love
everything
that.
was, and I could show people around. I didn't necessarily dress the part as all the hardware people, like, I would wear, like, what a normal teenage girl would wear, but I knew it in the ins and outs of, Chase Pick and hardware, so
That's very cool.
So I actually I did like a mentorship program through high school with interior design, but I didn't listen to the push. So even when like the intuitive voice that says this is what you're going to be good at or this is
Mhm.
what your passion is, so follow it. I think the matrix as you lovingly call
I
it
know, it's my favorite word.
encourages you to do the right thing versus what your gut tells you. And although my gut knew what I needed to be doing, every choice I made was but let's just explore everything
Mhm.
or I come back to that because is
Mhm.
that the easy answer or is that it seems like the unsafe answer. So even in going to school, I went to a liberal arts college because I was told by everybody that, you want to broaden your horizons and not hone in so closely. So I was
Mm.
like, let me go to the liberal arts school. So I went to Ohio and I did my schooling. But halfway through, it's like I did an art and design course and I was like, this is it. This is the good stuff. So at that point, I transferred to New York. And once I was in New York, it was like, I mean, people gravitate towards cities like New York for a reason. And that might be a whole different podcast episode to
So
get
you went
into.
to where did you go in Ohio? Where were you in Ohio? What town?
I
What
was in
city?
Worcester, College of Worcester.
Where is that?
It's like in the middle of nowhere, south of Cleveland, north of Columbus. So
So
it's
wait,
like,
did you grow up around here in the Ridgewood
no,
area?
upstate New York,
So you were in upstate New York, and then you decided to go to some
Rochester.
little college
Yeah.
in Ohio.
Yep.
How did you end up choosing landing on this, like, I'd never even heard of that school, like, a little
It
school
was
in Ohio?
it was a feeling I had when I went to the campus.
Okay.
It's what college looked like.
Yep.
It was like
And then
the
so what
college
did
dream.
you so you were doing obviously your first couple of years. What did you go into college? your intentions when you went into college? What
My
was your
intentions to go into college were just to explore all the different areas that I was interested in.
okay.
So I took courses my freshman year.
Were you basically undeclared? You were just kind of like,
Yeah, I was undeclared for the first year. And when I had to declare a major, it was definitely art. It was art
yeah.
because there was nothing design specific in the college that I had decided to go to. I played field hockey as well, so it was just, it was it was a really cool school. I enjoyed meeting all the people that I met, but it wasn't aligned career wise. So
So where did you go in New York City?
I did I did a New York arts program, so it was an internship opportunity. So I
Mhm.
was still enrolled at the College of Worcester.
Got
And
it.
then I lived with it was almost like it was like a tenement. It was like a student tenement. We lived in this like row house. And the room I stayed in, I could literally reach from one side to the other. Like my toe would touch one wall and my arm would touch the other side, and there were bunk beds in it. My
No
room was that
way.
tight, and it was just like a really cool thing. So every kid got they found their internship, they interviewed for it. There were certain people that were loyal to this program, so they kept getting interns
Mhm.
through this New York arts program. And I was working in Soho and I was working in Chelsea. So I worked for a gallery for part of my time and for a sculptor in Soho.
Mhm.
And I would just walk around the city and I would get to know the city. And I was staying like midtown. So it was like 29th, I think I was on 29th in
Mhm.
between 7th and 8th. And I was very, very close to FIT's campus. And FIT had an interior design program. So, through the course of doing this New York arts program, falling in love with New York City, I thought, let me just apply. They have a program. Let me see. So I applied and I got in and I never went back to Ohio.
Oh my gosh, so you applied to FIT, what, you're like for junior year?
No, I was a sophomore. It was
Wow.
my sophomore year and it was right after 9/11. And
Wow.
when everybody was running away from the city, I'm the cuckoo that ran towards the city. Yeah.
So after 9/11, was it the following year?
Pardon?
It was the following year? It was the following year that
Yeah.
you went to wow,
It was the following year.
wow. Oh my gosh. What a
Yeah.
story.
And then I stayed there for 4 years. So FIT is a 2+2 program. So you get your associates and then you can get your bachelor's. But I stayed in. So I graduated with a BFA, Bachelor in Fine Arts, focused in interior design.
That is very so are those schools did you have to put together like I'm always curious about this stuff because my daughter has talked about
Yeah.
FIT and what is it, LIM, right? And she so what did you have to put together like a whole portfolio to get to submit
hmm
there when you applied?
Yeah. And it's crazy because they had very specific requirements for your application. So an art school application will look very, very different from a regular university's
Mhm.
application. And, they had specific things that you needed to tick off the box. So, like, I needed to make sure that I had a drawing of a chair. I didn't have a drawing of a chair. I went and found an interesting chair to draw and I drew the chair. So it's like, it's a different kind of application than
Wow.
putting just together an essay and trying
Yeah.
to list your credentials. It's like, what kind of other experiences have you done? So, um,
That's very cool.
I'm glad I got in because it was just the coolest experience going to school in the city because you have so much at your fingertips as inspiration, as resources. You have almost every museum in the city has a student discount or free for
Yeah. Yep.
students.
Yep.
So it's such a beautiful place to educate yourself.
I'm such a big believer that when you're young, you should have as many experiences as you possibly
Yeah.
can. And if you want to go live in the mountains or in the sticks or you want to live in a city or like
Yeah.
whatever, to get that stuff like out of your system.
Go
I
do
lived
it.
in so many different places and I tell my kids all the time, I'm like,
Life gets
go
in the way later.
have yeah,
Yeah.
go have experiences. If you get a download or you're like you're doing something very specific and something's
Yeah.
telling you shift into something else, there's a reason for it. I mean, it's funny. I have clients that are, in their, I don't know, I would say like late 20s, early 30s, and they come in and I do my little analysis before they come in, my little intuitive analysis, and they come in, and one of the things will be on my, on my little piece of paper. I'll be like, "Oh, are you supposed to be moving? Are you supposed to be moving?" And they're like, "Well, I've been like thinking about moving, all the way across the country to like California or something." But everybody's like so obviously you're going to be comfortable where you've been at. And so my family's here and blah, 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 blah. And I said, that is great. But you know what? We're in an age of technology now that you can get on FaceTime. You can like do
Yep.
all these things. Like now when I was growing up, we didn't have any of that. You had the telephone, right? And I said, man, go out and have experiences. Like
Absolutely.
you can go live somewhere for a year and go get that job, even if it's only for like 12 months, and
Yep.
have that experience. You'll never know if you like something or love something or hate something unless you actually try. And
Yeah.
I think the Matrix always says when you're younger that you have to like set up your life. Like if
Yeah.
I whatever I do now is going to set me up for when I'm 60, which is
Yep.
so, obviously it's a part of the whole overall journey, but I'm like, "Oh my God, please do not be scared to go try something new because I think it's a wonderful to have those experiences."
So what is your human design? Hold on a second. I'm going to close this window. That's the 4th of July party getting cleaned up right now.
Download this morning. Remember when I texted you and I was like, everything's good. We're doing 10 o'clock today. I'm like, are you sure? Like we can do it another day if you want to. I have flexibility. We can even do it at a different time today. Is that did that not happen? That did happen, right? That's so
It
funny.
did. It
Yeah,
did.
as long as you can hear me,
It did. And
it'll drown everything.
while you messaged me, I was actually I did the carpool this morning driving my daughter to the river. She rows for Ridgewood Crew and there was a big accident on 21. So as you messaged me, are you okay for today? I was being detoured like 30 to 40 minutes out of the way to get them to their crew practice. I'm like, she knows what's going on
Telling
here.
you, every single time I would say 9 times out of 10, something gets downloaded in my head, there is a reason for it. Oh my gosh,
I was
it's
like,
so
no,
funny.
I'm good. I'm still good for 10. My neighbor may want to clean up his leaves and
funny.
all of the
That's all
garbage
right.
next door at the same time.
That's all
But
right.
it's all good.
This is how life works, right? You just gotta go with the
It
flow.
is.
What was your question? You asked me. What did you ask me?
What is your human design?
Oh my gosh, human design. Blanca is like she's on a trip. She's doing upstate New York this week. She just got her master gardener certificate from
Oh, that's amazing.
Rutgers. So she's looking at some farmland up in upstate New York.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I don't know what she's
Well,
gonna
I
do
can't
with it,
wait
but
to
we'll
see what comes of that.
Yeah. So as far as human design, I am a manifesting generator.
So am I. I was like,
generator.
I'm sensing Manny Jen energy from you.
My God.
for
I mean, I think we talked about
sure.
it very, very, very quickly when you were doing certification, but that's like, I
Yeah.
feel like the manifesting generator out of all of those, like, I guess those are the types. It's
Yeah.
like, that's like a powerful, manifesting generator is like I feel like that's a really powerful
is.
energy.
Well, I'll tell you, I feel it's kind of wrong to be talking about human design without Blanca here, but I'm sure she would have a lot
She'll
to
be
say
fine.
about
Yeah.
this. But I feel like one of the moments in my life where I really felt like I could step into my own authority was discovering human design. And that aspect of things just made me realize that the way I've been doing life doesn't have to fit anybody's expected mold of me. And that's what that did for me. And the minute I started realizing that, wait, I am this way and this is how I'm supposed to do life, it made me quiet all of the, oh God, I just went from this job to that job or this place to that place. Like, no, this is the way my life has to be lived because I'm picking up all the bits and pieces.
So do you hop around a lot? Do you like
Hop
get
around
it?
a lot?
Oh my
Because if it doesn't
gosh.
serve me, why am I staying in it?
That is so me. I joke around all the time and I say, people, since I've been out on the social media circuit for a very long time, I've really lived a lot of my life through social media, like on public. So I joke around because everybody's seen me for years with all of my shifts and would look at me and think like my life is this crazy roller coaster and I'm like
It's
a
just
hot
non-linear.
mess. But it's not linear. And yes, while I would say there are shifts that I have made that come with probably good and like low vibe energy, it's everything that I was called to that was meant to happen because with every turn and with every like dip down and rise back up, I've always risen to a higher perspective in my life. Like I've always grown in all of those shifts. So I don't think anybody has ever really come to me and could say, because I have some friends that are amazing, that are very honest. I'm okay with brutal honesty. And I don't think anybody's ever come and said to me like, you're a hot mess and you need to settle down because every single thing I've done, like every time time I've shifted, like even my recent shift with my husband and I living in separate houses, like it was always meant to like elevate, elevate me in some way, shape, or form, and just,
You always
it
land
was
on your feet.
yeah, it's always another season of growth. Like I never look back and say, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that." Like I
Yeah.
always there's always when I'm in the middle of something like that, I always hear in my head, "This may not make sense right now. Just
But
lean
you're
into
learning
it,
something.
but it's gonna make sense
Yeah.
eventually." And it always makes
It
sense. So
always
you
makes
would you say
sense.
the same thing for you?
Yeah. What's that?
I said you would say the same thing that for you that happens?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, especially through my career path, I feel like I've had such different types of work, and each one has taught me something different, and I've picked it up along the way. So, part of my kind of getting back to what I'm doing now, what's always been challenging for me is there is this, there's these pretty deep wagon wheels of what a successful interior designer looks like. And, there's a certain way to brand, and there's a certain way to do this, and there's a certain way to do that. And I get that. But it never felt authentic to me.
Mhm.
So, what I'm trying to build needs to feel authentic and aligned with me and how I feel and what I've learned along the way. So, trying to build that authentic brand is what is happening now. And I'm glad it's happening now because I've never felt more aligned with my trusting my intuition, etc.
So did you work your whole entire mothering journey?
Mhm.
Did you do work so you were a full-time working mom?
Yeah, I was a full-time working mom. It part During parts, I was working in the city for interior design firms, doing high-end residential, doing exactly what I was trained to do. Right around the time, so along in tandem with my mothering, etc., I had a very sick mother-in-law who, our family was very tied to and connected with. And because I had flexibility with my job, many times I would step in and out of this caregiving role throughout the
Mhm.
time. So when these things started to get bigger and heavier with caring for family, I decided with my family that I needed to take a job that was closer to home. So I started working at Design Within Reach in Paramus
Oh,
when
yeah.
the
It's
store
on
used to be
17?
in the mall. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes! It was at Garden State Plaza.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember when that
So
opened.
yeah, it's a great store. I've always known the brand because they're, selling product that is, classic designs. And the running joke was always like design within reach. It's so not within reach because it's quite expensive.
Mhm.
But the point of that is that, trying to go from high-end residential to a retail position period,
Mhm.
I had to like there was an ego death there. I had to really kind of swallow my ego.
Mhm.
And I feel like every step along my career path there forward, it was so difficult for me to see my own self worth and that I am still part of who I was before and I carry that with me. But that's what made me a successful retail designer because people saw that I could do so much more than just
How long were you there?
I was there for about 2 years.
For 2
Uh,
years? Okay.
yeah, it got to the point where they were trying to promote me to store manager, and I did not want to be the store manager. I wanted to design. It kept pulling me towards a misaligned position. So, then it would force me to go and look for the next thing that was a little bit more aligned.
So when did you start getting the downloads and the hits about Lucky Day interiors? Like how long was that kind of ruminating in your intuitive mind before you actually
Oh,
decided to do something with it?
so much longer. So I don't think it was ever just called Lucky Day Interiors. Like I keep journals and I've recently found a few older ones and I flip open and I just browse a little all along every step of my journey, all of the side jobs that I took on, all along there were always scribbles about this business.
Mhm.
It was always there. And, every time I would maybe say, like, okay, now's the time to put this out there, I would take a step, but then I would get knocked down. And I would try it again, and then I would get knocked down, or something else became the priority. So throughout this entire process, it's always been there. It's just
Mhm.
never been the the thing I'm doing. Like it's always been right there along within me. I read Joanna Gaines' book. Do you know
Yeah, oh my
everyone?
gosh,
Joanna
yes, yes,
Gaines?
yes.
And I heard a moment where she described in her book, it was like, I guess Chip must have found her old journals, and it was like, it's been there all along. It's just not come into fruition.
Mhm,
So recently, I think it was when I was when I lost my job at this most recent company I worked for,
mhm,
Singer Equipment. So it was totally on a line job. I finished it and I was like, this is just not where I need to be going. Let
mhm.
me get back to where I need to be doing things. Let me put all of myself into this and focus forward. And that is right around the time when I reached out to you and said I wanted to do the Reiki healing because I feel like throughout my journey, my personal journey with interiors, which is separate from my client's journey with interiors, I've always had a deep connection to space and understanding. It's about feeling in space. I
Yeah,
know that this
yep,
is like a little heady,
yeah. It's
but
feeling, it's intuition, yeah, 100%.
I remember in my teen years, I would, as a teenager, you're full of so much angst. You don't know what to do with yourself. And how I got around that is I would move my furniture around in my room. I would do some sort of update in the room. And what I realized is that as you make these things move around a space, you feel different. And it's something bigger than just, oh, it looks nicer and I have this, newer space and I feel better about it. So I'm really curious about digging deeper there. And I had an intuitive ping to integrate Reiki as into my interior design practice. And it gets at the root and the crux of that that element of interiors. And I am really excited to start layering in some of the things that you taught me through the training
I can't wait. It's gonna be very
into
exciting to watch.
how I'm designing for clients because, I can practice on myself in the meantime, but it's like I know this connection exists somehow between our things, the spaces. Now it's like, how do I bring it to other people? So
Well,
that's
it's
what
gonna
Lucky
be
Day Interior
yeah,
is.
it's gonna be so interesting because I think we talked a lot about this, but about where somebody is specifically, like, energetically in their life,
Mm.
and it's gonna be really interesting to see how you're able to intuitively hone in on that, like, to be able to connect to it, but then communicate it and see what
Yeah.
shows up in your finished projects, because I know for a fact, like, my husband and I moved out and we have our separate places. And every time I walk into that house, I'm like, I've always, that house, I don't know what it is about that house, but there's just something about it that makes my skin crawl. It has made my skin crawl for the last 4 years. And I
So
know I'm not
funny.
wrong because I moved into this new place. I'm in this like such cute, adorable duplex. I styled it my own way, whatever. But when I
Yeah.
walk in that space, I'm like, oh, like, it makes me, like, feel
Yes.
so good. I was even gonna possibly do the podcast there today. I was like, "No, I need to get out of the house and go to the office to do it," because I just felt like I needed to shift my location today
Mindset.
just for
Yeah.
energy
Yeah.
purposes, you know? But, like, when I go back to that house, I probably said it every single day for, like, the
Yeah.
last 5 days. I keep saying to my husband, I said, "There is some weird juju or something about this house." I feel like even if you, like, maybe it is the color or the way it's laid out, because it's a cape. It's not an expanded cape, it's like a regular cape. But like even if we painted all the walls white and like there's just so much about it. I feel like you really have to like
Yeah.
structurally like change the structure of it to
How long
make
has
it
your
like feel
husband
better.
been there?
Since 2018. He actually moved in there because he moved to Ridgewood when he got divorced. So he's been there. He's been in that house since the divorce, so 2018.
Yeah, and the furniture and what makes up, the decor of the space, like, is it
Mhm.
his? Is it yours? Was it a
Well, it's
mix
pretty
of
much
both
well, I think
or
no, it was pretty much his, which is funny that you say that, right? Because I always said to him, and we've had conversations over the last few days about it. I said, "I don't ever feel like never felt like that house was really my house. I just felt like my kids and I came and we like infiltrated your energy space and your
Yeah,
son's space, and I would always talk about that and about how we could have like integrated more, I guess, of both of us because first intention was when we got married was to leave both of our spaces and try to find a house and
Mhm.
move everybody into one house here in
Yeah.
Ridgewood. But it was like 2022. It was during the height of like, everybody
Well,
was
yeah,
like,
housing
real
prices
estate
were
was
going skyrocket.
crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Real
Yeah,
estate was
100%.
crazy. Everybody was trying to get into, everybody was like mass exodus
It
out of the
still is.
city. It's nuts. And there's
Yeah,
like bidding wars. There's bidding wars on
there
rentals
still
here.
is.
Rentals, our
Houses are
house,
still selling like 200, $300,000 over asking.
if you saw
It's a
our
crazy market
rental,
still.
they raised our they've raised our rental every single year, our lease price, and it is like if people saw what we paid for this freaking house, people would be like, "Oh my goodness."
I
It's
believe it because
crazy. It's absolutely
I'm in the
nuts.
rental market as well.
Oh
Yeah,
my
when I
gosh.
moved out, I rented, and that's I feel like there's this stigma around renting, but it's like it's such a fact of life, and so many people rent, and I feel like that's something I need to speak. I want to get on a soapbox and stand and say from the rooftop because just because you're in a rental space doesn't mean that you can't fine tune your space to you.
Mm-mm,
And
that's
there's
true.
hurdles to get
Mhm.
around with rentals, but,
Mhm.
it doesn't just because you're in a rental space doesn't mean that you need to renovate or even put nails in the wall, like, there's
Mhm.
ways to get around it, but I think that what you bring into your space physically
Mhm.
makes a big impact on how you feel in the space, so
Mhm.
I'm guessing that your situation in your husband's house versus your house, you probably didn't have enough of your physical things to feel blended, you
No,
know?
I literally got rid of a lot of stuff from my apartment before I moved in there. So yes, the majority of things were his, and I always felt that everybody had their own space except for me, meaning like my
Mhm.
husband's bedroom was his bedroom. He shifted things around in the bedroom so then obviously I could put my stuff in the bedroom, but I used to have, in my old place, like my old house, like I had my own office or I had my own closet or whatever the heck it
Yeah.
was. And so when I moved in there, it was just like he was shifting stuff around so I could put my stuff in places. And then both my kids had their own bedrooms and then my stepsons had their own bedrooms. But I never really had any place in that house that was like real I felt was like really mine
Grounding.
until
Yeah.
I felt a little bit better because we have this like really boxy kitchen and there was
Mhm.
no island or anything in it. And so a couple years ago around the holidays, I said to my husband, I'm like, I think I could just get like a $300 like little like portable like island to put into the middle of the kitchen. And when I did that, it's crazy because when I put that island in there, I was like, "Oh my God, this is so nice." I put some stools under it and I felt like I had a kitchen where I could like cook better. It was more functional space, but I also felt like if any of the kids wanted to come in and they wanted to eat, something at the island while I'm cleaning up and like it was just like more social because
Absolutely.
it was
And
our
you
house.
made your mark. You put some of your energy into the home,
Yes.
and then it started to feel a little bit more comfortable to you.
Isn't that
And I
funny?
think
That's what your energy work or your connection to
absolutely.
energy is going to really flourish. And
It's
you know
funny
what?
because it seems so obvious to, like, say, yeah, you need some of your own things in the space that you live or things that you love, and I feel like everybody's worried about, like, does this look good together? Well, if you just collect things that you love and have things in your life that make you feel comfortable, whether it be a really comfortable chair to sit in or something decorative that reminds you of something that you did with friends from the past, like something that brings joy to you. And, I hate to steal a phrase from Marie Kondo, but like things that spark joy. Like you need to have those kinds of things around you so that you're reminded of who you are, how you connect with the world, things that just make you feel alive. And that stuff changes as life goes on, just as we navigate through all these different seasons of life, as motherhood changes us, as parenting changes us, as relationships change. You need to have spaces that support you and that are currently supporting you. And it's always a fine tune between the decorative and functional. So
Mhm.
having those two in balance are a really important part. And that's usually what drives people to renovate.
So when is the website? When are you gonna be
The website is up.
launching? It's
So
up?
the
Great.
website is up. Yeah, the website is luckydayinteriors.com, and there are service offerings that are up there, which is, the jumping point. Right now it doesn't have the layers and the infusion of the Reiki aspect that I want to put in, but I'm changing it daily. So come along for the journey, stop by, and if anybody hears this and has questions, just do a form fill and reach out. I'd love to chat. I mean, spaces are so deeply personal. That's why I love doing this.
Well, I really appreciate that you decided to agree to come on here, and I'm very excited to see how your journey plays out. So,
Thank you,
Liz
Renee.
Day-Suri, Lucky Day Interiors, right? .com, and you are located here in
In Ridgewood, New Jersey.
Ridgewood, New
Yeah, I
Jersey.
can do I can do work through distance though. It's quite easy. I used to work for a firm that did work in Turks and Caicos, so it was like doing work from New York and designing for a different place. That's actually part of what I'm really looking forward to developing so that I can help people wherever they are.
I love it. So you can do in person and you can do distance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for being with us today. And
Thank
enjoy
you
the
for
rest of your
having me. It's
summer.
a
Enjoy the rest of your
pleasure
summer.
to chat with you. You
All right.
too.
We'll see you later.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.